when you were showing a home and there was this horrible smell that just make you walk away, and so did your buyer?
One thing that I have to say is there's two, I mean, obviously I can't get into a personal smell. I mean, there's sometimes someone has a smell, like it could be a cat or it could be a dog, and it's a personalized thing. Of course, anything like cigarette smoke or anything like that, to me, it's just disgusting, but it's doable. It doesn't mean that there's danger. I do explain to them, hey, if someone had previously smoked here, there are ways to get rid of the smell. I mean, it could be expensive, but anyway, it's, to me, I try to get it away from being a deal killer. Really, to me, the most important is two things: anything that smells like moisture or wet, or anything that smells like fire or burnt. So those two elements, I try to inform my client that shows that there might be a hazardous condition, and that could be dangerous. Or actually, there's a third one: sewer. The sewer smell. Anything that smells like sewer is just probably a plumbing issue, which could be a hazard, right? So those three things. Anything else, if it's a particular smell that, we could try to figure it out, right? Like, again, I try to always steer my client to health and hazardous issues. But of course, if for them, it's like, if it smells like a cat or if it smells like smoke or cigar and they just can't stand it, then that's their personal choice. But again, like I said, it's really my red flags come up if I smell, anything that's burnt, anything that's moisture, and anything that's sewer related or plumbing related. I'm like, whoa, we need to find out what's going on here, and either, not buy this. But again, see, I work with sometimes investors, and investors, they're like, I don't care.
That. The smellier, the better with them.
Well, they just means a better deal, right?
Yeah.
So it really depends on the buyer. But again, like I said, whenever there's those are my red flags that I just try to, I'm like, oh, we gotta dig into this a little bit deeper.
Okay, now tell me, what's your favorite smell in a home?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm obsessed right now with Jo Malone. They have these perfume reads, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have one, it's called English Pear and Freesia, that I'm just completely obsessed about. And I try to sometimes either get a candle, like when we used to do open houses. I don't know if we're ever going to do those again.
No, not in California. Everywhere else they're doing them, but not here.
So what I would do, I mean, of course, it depends on the season, right? Like, so this question, I'm sorry, I'm giving you a very elaborate answer. The short answer is Jo Malone, English Pear and Freesia is just my favorite house smell ever. I mean, I'll bring it everywhere I go. It's fresh. It smells like floral and fruity, but not too much, and it's not overpowering. You can't go wrong with anything from Jo Malone. I love everything that they do. I highly recommend it. It's very good. The other one is Deep Teak Candles is like a really good one too. But my favorite smell is that. The long answer is just saying it depends on what season it is. Like when I used to be able to do open houses during the holidays, I used to bake cookies, and that was very inviting. And then obviously, you kind of change for the season. But it's funny because it's true. Smells do bring you back to a certain memory or a certain recollection or a certain thing. But again, you have to be careful with that too, because sometimes what you think is your favorite smell, someone else might think is repugnant. So I try to do something neutral. But again, like I said, that's pretty much my my favorite brand. Agents, look up, great. They have all sorts of scents from like leathery to fruity, and I'm kind of obsessed with all of them. So this is not a paid advertising from Jo Malone.
How do you get a house ready for the market?
That's actually one of my funnest, most favorite things to do. I love just prepping the house. First of all, of course, depending on the seller and what their budget is, but, turning a house and then just having them understand to put all of their junk away. People that are like dedicate a certain part of the garage into just taking all your things, clear everything out. If you want to stage, let's stage it. Amazing pictures, video prep, and depending on the house, like I said, if it's a significant home, this is where my PR background kind of comes in, and I've done pitches and media pitches for certain homes or certain projects. If they're like I said, if it's historical or if it has a story behind the house or whatever it is, then obviously we add a little bit of the PR element, and I do that free of charge to my clients. I just throw that out there. Making sure everything is clean, nice, orderly. nicely staged. If they don't have a stager, just helping them to sometimes, just like I said, clearing out the clutter, adding a little things here and there can make a world of a difference. And again, hiring a really good photographer is so important. I can't believe sometimes I go on the MLS and I see a picture of a house and I'm like, what is this?
Somebody's thumb is in the middle.
No, you could tell they took it themselves. And you're like, what? Why? Like, part of our thing and part of the Sotheby's thing is a luxurious experience at every price point, right? I don't care. I've sold $150,000 condos in Palm Springs to over $1 million homes, right? It doesn't matter the price point. You want everything to be seamless. And when you are representing yourself, you want to make sure that it has people that have the same expectations and you give them the same experience. Like I said, I've had these tiny little 1-bedroom condos that cost literally under $200,000, and we dressed it up really nice, did really good photography. We had like over 10 offers in like 2 days. This is before the crazy market right now. I'm talking about a year and a half ago.
In normal market times.
In a normal market time, not crazy seller's market where, you can barely get your foot in the door right now. But
sorry, it's sold already. Forget it. We were number 3 on the appointment list and the house is gone. Yeah.
But anyway, so definitely getting a house ready is so important. I miss doing open houses. Can you tell? I've already talked about it like 3 times. It was so much fun.
I miss that too. That's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah. And door knocking and like just telling people about the open house, the neighbors, inviting the neighbors over. And it was a great way to really build a community around the house. Anyway, so they need to open that up again.
We'll get that back. We're moving towards the safe stage where everything will be open again.
Exactly.
And we'll get there. Slow and steady. Very slow. Oh, here we go. Hey, which is the most memorable transaction of your career?
I'd have to say almost every single one of them. And just because every single one of them has either been an amazing experience for me to grow and learn, or just to solidify I love what I'm doing. There's been those challenging transactions where you're just like, oh my gosh, clients wouldn't believe that we cry sometimes at night, just because we do worry about our transactions and our clients. And it's really hard not to get personally involved with someone's one of their biggest purchases in their life, and you root for them. And when something happened last minute at the 11th hour, you're just as concerned and trying to find a solution. Again, like I said, it's really hard for me to name just one, but every single one of my clients has touched me in some way or another. And like I said, even those challenging ones, they help me to grow and to become a better agent. I think that's I'm sorry if I'm so vague, but it's just really hard for me to name just one without going off and then naming like 20 other ones. So
obviously I know the length of the escrow in your city.
Oh.
And we do not need attorneys in the state of California. So I'm just going to skip that unless you are actually using attorneys all the time.
I have used an attorney a couple of times, but not for the reasons that you would think I've used them. In the high desert, there's a lot of issues with, especially in Joshua Tree. And this is just for anyone out there who's thinking to buy land in Joshua Tree, because I used to get so many calls from so many people, and especially in Los Angeles or Orange County, the metro areas that wanted to kind of get away or invest. And they're like, hey, I want to buy a piece of land and build, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's great in theory, and it's a beautiful, fantastic idea. But there's so many moving pieces. Because for a while, I was one of the only agents in Joshua Tree that was a Sotheby's agent for Joshua Tree. And so I was getting a lot of calls. People have no idea the building of sometimes the water is 600 feet deep or more. Sometimes utilities is very hard to get to. And the number one issue is title. And the reason is because when Joshua Tree, it's not a city, it's an incorporated town in San Bernardino County. So you have to go to the county. And a lot of times back in the day, there were squatters like in the 50s and 40s and 30s. And they just kind of like squatted on someone's land and just kind of built a house there that wasn't really part of the property. So when they redid a lot of these lines, easements are a huge problem because sometimes you have to drive through people's property to get to your property. And again, it's because they just didn't really figure it out back in the day. So at the same time, the problem is now, as it's growing and developing, if you have an issue where you don't have an easement and your property lines, like you have 5 acres and it's behind someone else's 2 different properties or 3 different properties, which happens all the time, by the way, you need to get a grant deed to go through those properties. Now, if there's other ways to try to figure it out. Like sometimes maybe the city built an easement, and so you have a public access, but you have to really work with your title person. Now, if you don't have a public access to your property, you're going to have to work with an attorney to get the grant deeds. That could be a big problem. So a lot of people would run into this issue and not really know what to do with it. So that's when the real estate attorneys would come in, because they would help you you would have to draft these grant deeds. And then also too, sometimes these people who own these properties would have to kind of name their price on how much they wanted for you to access.
How much will it cost you to get through my property to reach your own property? Yeah.
The funny thing is a lot of times these people had no idea that they didn't, that you needed to go through their property. So they're like, oh, what? Like, it's the Wild West out there. We had a lot of issues. I'm sure, where you're at, there's easements because of the beach and things. It's a little bit different because a lot of these here or where they were in the Joshua Tree area, people didn't know about them. It's just, it's the Wild West. You see all sorts of weird title issues and land issues. And so real estate attorneys are very important over there for that.
See, I knew one thing, but not the other. So you shared that with me. As a real estate advisor, what do you think is the most valuable skill we should all have?
Listening. I mean, there's tons of different skills, but number one, listening, truly listening. A lot of times we have preconceived notions about what is best for our clients, what they want, what they need, and we're not actually listening. And we're not listening in between the lines. I think that, of course, there's so many different other, again, negotiation and, being ethical and being honest, all those things, right? Very, very important. But just really listening to the other agent, listening to your clients, listening to what's going on and observing, because we tend to kind of always want to talk and sell, but we need to stop selling and start listening to what really our client needs. And then sometimes you find better solutions through listening.
I have a list of fabulous skills that everybody has given me. Maybe one day we'll just publish. Here are the best ideas, the best skill that everybody should have. As I talk to people, I have a notebook going around and I'm adding them. And yes, listening keeps on showing up a lot. Well, Chantal, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about you and your real estate knowledge. For those of you listening, if you are ever in the need of a property in La Jolla, get in touch with her. I will post all of her information so you can reach out to her. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Jaqueline. It's such an honor. And like I said, it's serendipitous, almost just the fact how you and I met. And then now that we're here, we work together, work with the same company. And it's just such an honor. And I think this is wonderful what you're doing. I wish you the best of luck in this podcast. And I hope that it continues to grow and grow and grow. Who knows, maybe I'll be a guest another time to discuss some other subjects, and we'll talk about other fun real estate subjects for you.
We'll love that. I'm going to hold you up to that. Join me next week for another episode where we will get to know another great person, another Sotheby's member of the family. Have a great day, everybody. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.